All right, everybody, welcome to TokiTV, our Sunday gathering each and every Sunday for Skelly Check the Nuts Legacy. Remind everyone, go ahead and click your share button so that we get this, get everyone who wants to be on. And you guys want to be on today is we're going to see some photography today, some pictures of our beautiful Southern residents that you probably have not seen before. I had not seen. And it's just nice to be able to see the beauty of nature. And our special guest today, Derek, definitely has a talent for that and much, much more. What he does with his talent is just really amazing. I'm in so much gratitude for you and who you are, Derek, and how you're spreading awareness. Before we get into all of that, let's do our quick check-ins. Peggy, how are you?
Hello, Annette and everybody. I'm doing fine, thanks. Keeping busy as usual. But glad to be here.
Peggy's always busy. And at our closing today, you guys will hear about the website updates she did regarding what we spoke about last week. So I look forward to that. Deb Cruz, what's happening?
Deb Cruz is doing what she can, when she can, whenever she can, and hoping for the best.
Deb Cruz sounds like all of us. Thanks for being here always. Howard, how are you today? What's going on in the hood?
Doing what I can when I can too. Well, it's a sort of a hazy day. We've got some whales coming down the west side of Whidbey Island. They're sort of headed this way, but they're about 5 hours away at a normal pace. So don't expect to have to get up and yell whale at any particular time. But if they show up, I will.
Awesome. Well, and we will understand if we see you flying off the screen. I just want to thank everybody for joining. I see Jennifer Godfrey's watching, and Jennifer's going to be our guest next week. So we're looking forward to that. So thanks for being in the audience today. And folks, there'll be time for questions and all that. So if you have questions for Derek as we go through on some of the fascinating topics and areas that he's visited, feel free to put those in the chat. Derek, I'm going to let Derek do a lot of introduction of his own, but he is a conservation fine art photographer who's traveled to all 7 continents telling the stories of our planet. These include environmental conservation stories, but also human stories around underserved and indigenous communities fighting for survival in a changing world. We are so grateful to have you, Derek. I will turn it over to you.
Thank you all so much for having me. This community is one that I've become fond of quickly. I've spent just a few months working on a film out there that's going to be, it's still in the process, but every time I meet an individual like someone like Howard or any of the tribal friends that I have, because I can now thankfully say that they're friends, I really enjoyed the time I've spent with them. When I get back, it's warm embraces and hugs. And I really thank you all for the work that you're doing out there, because sometimes it's thankless and I know it's an endless uphill battle. I see it every day in my work around the globe. And it's because of people like you who are dedicated to the species that you care for, that they still exist oftentimes. So yeah, thank you for the work you're all doing.
This is awesome. So Derek, I don't know. I mean, has photography always been something you were interested in since a child? Like when did?
Yeah. So it's kind of one of those things that I fell into. I was working a really terrible job in college. I was booking tee times for golf courses all around the world, sitting in a cubicle in Chicago. And I had to do something during my lunch breaks to just not go crazy. And so I would leave, and I bought this really cheap film camera on eBay back in like probably around 99 or 2000 or somewhere around there. And I just started learning the craft, trial and error, walking around Chicago, just taking pictures. And it was one of those things that I loved the process. Every time I would get back to the lab and dive through my slides to see what I captured that day, it was just so exciting. It became an addiction. And I started to travel in my mid-20s around the world to places like South America. And I had switched to digital cameras at that point. And I just fell deeper and deeper in love with the craft of like it would get me to explore places a little bit deeper outside of just a tourist. You begin to see things as an artist, and as a way to communicate back home, I would send these images to family and friends back at home in these places that were far away that oftentimes they thought were dangerous, places like Bolivia or the jungles of Ecuador near Colombia, and even far south down into Patagonia, these places that a lot of my family and friends had never been. And I was sending these images back home being like, look how beautiful it is. This is my experience. And it was a way to really help them connect to that place that was so far away that they didn't know about, that often people thought was scary. And I was there showing them, no, it's beautiful. Look at these smiling faces. Look at these indigenous tribes of the jungles of the Amazon. And it was just so heartwarming to me, and as to see the power of the photo to share back at home. And at some point in 2000, I want to say 2000, my early 2000 teens, so like 11 to 13, I'd gone to Iceland with wife Kelly, and we were standing on the black sand beaches of Joe Carlson. I think that's how you pronounce it. Icelandic is a very difficult language to pronounce, but I'm standing on these beaches and I'm watching this endless flow of fresh water pouring out of Europe's largest ice cap. And it was only March, so summer hadn't even set in. And that was the first time I could visibly see climate change happening at a rate that it was undeniable. Like the volume of water that was pouring out of this ice cap into the ocean was like a raging rapid. It's like it's like the Elba River, but it was just coming from one source. And it was, to me, that was like, wow, this is a problem. This is scary, and it's happening on many places around the world. In South America, the glaciers are disappearing, in Europe for sure, because of the increased temperatures that we're seeing. And so I started to change my travel. Instead of just curiosity and wanting to see the planet as a tourist and as somebody who just wanted to go to these faraway exotic places, I changed my travel to go to places with my camera to start documenting real important issues that were happening, like droughts in sub-Saharan Africa or deforestation across Malaysia and Borneo, where palm oil plantations have quickly eliminated huge patches of jungle, and not just the jungle, but the indigenous tribes and the people who call it home and have the right to those lands. And I wanted to tell their story. I wanted to sit with them and share it with the world, because I don't know about these things. I didn't even know about the Southern residents until a few years ago. And a friend of mine, Tracy and Tyler Strandis, who have Barefoot Eco Outfitters, they said, hey, there's a story that's going on. Would you be interested in learning about the Southern residents and coming out here and maybe doing a photo story? And it turned into a much bigger thing. It's now turning into a full feature documentary, because that's how important it is, and that's how dire the situation is. And it was like, guys, it needs to be something bigger than just a photo story. And so that's kind of like how I fell into photography, was just out of curiosity, and then seeking places that were in trouble and bringing home the beauty of what's left and sharing that with the world and saying, hey, your choices back at home, if you're not reading your labels and you see palm oil on your peanut butter, like that purchase had an effect on the other side of the world. And just to start educating people on those small little things, and then show them, beautiful images. This is Colorado, but like the quality of that, something that's fine art that they could hang on their wall. And I go to an art show and conversation over and over and over again about the work I'm doing and the animals and curiosities. And that's kind of how I fell into photography, was out of boredom in a hobby, but then it turned into a vehicle for travel, and then it turned into a vehicle for change.
That's so awesome. I was reading in a little bit of what you sent me about kind of what you were doing prior to, and there was a significant event that happened in your life. If you wouldn't mind sharing that on what had you really just kind of dive into your passion and what you're doing.
Yeah, certainly. And I think this is something that I love speaking about, particularly in different audiences that I'm talking to now, because every single person can relate to it. I used to work in a physical therapy setting, particularly with advanced populations, people that were at end of life, right? So this was cancer, Parkinson's, MS, Lou Gehrig's, and just age, right? I still have clients in their late 90s, or I have a few that have become family, and I need to keep working with them because I love them. But over and over again, I kept losing these people to whatever disease or battle they were facing, and many of them said, Derek, you don't know how quickly it happens that you end up at this age, right? 97. I lost a client last year at 97, and he was a dear friend of mine. And each one of them, I cried like a baby when I lose them because they were friends and family. They were just people who I deeply cared about. And they said, you have to go and do what is right. Like, live a life with purpose, travel. If you're unhappy, change it. If you feel like you can do more, do more. And because you don't know when that diagnosis is coming. We're all susceptible to it. And life happens fast. I just turned 42, and I don't know how that happened. I know I'm still young, but like all the palooza's happening in my backyard right here. And there's a lot of like late teens and early 20 somethings. And in my mind, I feel like I'm still that. But then I look around and I'm like, no, you could be their parents at this point. And so these people who I lost and loved really lit a flame in my heart and my soul and said, go do it, make a bigger impact on this planet before you leave it, because it's going to happen to us all. And I want to make sure that I go kicking and screaming for this planet and am a voice for the voiceless.
I love that. Go kicking and screaming. You were saying how you just learned about the Southern residents a few years ago, and I just recently learned about you, and these are things that I wish I knew before, because I could have been sharing your work wildly, and I intend to. If it's okay with you, I'd like to start putting some photos up on the screen, and if you want to just kind of maybe we'll just briefly. There's a lot of them, and no one's going to be sad about this that I couldn't choose just a couple, because they're all just beautiful, and I think we all need. I don't want to say a break, but I think we all need to see some beauty in what we're doing too, because we're so in the impact of the impact that we're having on the planet.
But also, before you start, I think that is something that I chose intentionally to show the beauty of the planet, because I could go out there and document photojournalism, destruction, dead animals, deforestation, and there is a place for that, because you need to see the dirty, right? You can't just show the beauty and ignore that the things are happening. But what I want to do is create ambassadors of this planet. I want people to be curious about the beautiful elephant standing in the jungles of Borneo and go see that for themselves. I want them to go where the Southern residents are and become educated about the issues that they're facing, because then they take that back home and they talk about it like wildfire, like we all do. And that's why I chose to do the fine art version, because I feel like beauty just inspires.
Absolutely. This is awesome. And I put his website up a while ago, but we'll do it again at the end, because not only is his website, we could do a 2-hour show on just his website. It's not just here's some pictures you can buy, right? It's like, here's this photo section from this area, and here's what you need to know about it. It's just fabulous, and we'll take a look at that in a bit. But I'm going to go ahead and add some photos here, and I got to play with my screen to make it look right. Deb Cruz and I were doing this earlier. But yeah, if you want to just kind of walk us through some of these photos, Derek.
Sure. Yeah, this is the Hadzabe tribe of East Africa. They're in the Lake Minyara region near Ngoro Crater. And I was fortunate to be able to go visit them a couple times. They're one of the planet's last hunter-gatherer tribes, truly living off the land day by day, going out and hunting. This particular photo, the men are sitting around. What's on the fire is they caught a fox that day, and they threw the fox right on the fire. You can see it in the flames, and they were just sitting around and talking. The gentleman in the middle, he's the chief of the tribe. And he just had just an unbelievable presence about him, and commanded respect without saying a word. It was really a unique experience to go and see how this tribe is living every day without the technologies and things that we've got so comfortable with. They face their own issues of things of drought, land grabbing, and this is how we all began, right? This is hunter-gatherers at their finest, and truly some of the kindest, funniest, sweet people I've had the pleasure to be around. And these are the people that I really encourage people to go visit, because again, when you learn about what they're up against, you come home and you start talking about it. And our tourism dollars helps preserve their ecosystem.
Wow.
Yeah, in 2020, I went out during the pandemic to the Grand Teton National Park, and because I couldn't be around people, I dove deep into my craft, and was tracking grizzly bears and moose in the Tetons and Yellowstone, and every day was just full of either something spectacular as a landscape like this, or encounters with just North America's most incredible animals.
It's gorgeous.
Do you want me to talk about each of them? Because this could take a while. I could go deep into it.
It's up to you. I mean, whatever's on your heart when you did it. I mean, this
Right.
is
So I was in East Africa in 2022. This is the Tarangire National Park. This is a pretty massive bull elephant who was having a blast just covering himself in the red dirt. I have other photos where he's throwing it all over himself. He was just being, he's kind of like a late juvenile. So he had his naughty side to him. He was rubbing on all the sticks, and he was just a joy to be around. And thankfully my guide and one of my best friends, Stephen Ngoi of Defo Safari, he is an expert guide, knows all the animals, knows all their behaviors, and knew that this one was very mild-mannered. So we were able to let him get close to us without setting up any alarms. We got some great portraits of him just covered in red earth. Yeah, she's one of my favorite encounters of wild animals of all time. This is Northern Serengeti National Park. She was raising 2 cubs, and I sat with a cup of coffee one morning for about an hour and a half and photographed her. It's just such a majestically beautiful animal. I was just photographing her, and then she just began to make this kind of clicking noise with her mouth. And my buddy was really excited because she was calling to infant cubs to come running up, and they immediately began nursing on her. And I got the whole thing on camera, lots of great photographs, and then they began to play, and it was just truly one of those things that when I am at that end of life moment, I will look back at my time the hour and a half I got to spend with her. It's just one of the highlights of it. This is your guys' neck of the woods. This is Olympic National Park. Just what I wanted to create with this is just to try to capture an ounce of the beauty that's out there and the scale of it. It's really difficult oftentimes with landscapes like big, massive forests, or in Antarctica, the scale of the ice down there. But just want to try to show the lushness and give a photograph that makes you imagine that fresh air that you all have the luck and joy of being able to enjoy out in your neck of the woods.
Beautiful.
Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. So as a wildlife photographer, there's a lot of near misses, but sometimes you definitely get lucky. So this was in Telluride out in Colorado, photographing the fall foliage, which is just one of the most incredible places to capture fall colors. Having a little bit of a lunch break with my dog in the car next to me, and these deer just kept running by, and I just quietly grabbed my camera, and 2 of them had already fled the scene, but I was able to capture that last one just perfectly trucking through the brush with that golden background. And that's the one I have behind me. This is one of my favorite prints. It was just one of those places that I'd driven by a number of times, waiting for the fall colors to happen. And nature always does it better than I can imagine. So I wanted to go back to this place and photograph. I thought the fall colors were about peak for what I wanted to see in the canvas up front with the brush and the aspen trees. And then that evening, the sunset was the best of the whole 2 or 3 weeks that I was out there. And it was just a gift from nature that said, thank you for taking the time to come out and visit me. Here's a reward. So, yeah. Grand Teton National Park. Actually, it was funny because when I was out there photographing this, there was a couple other photographers on the shoreline, and they were really irritated with this group of people that were out there having a nice little paddle on the lake. And I, as a photographer, I thought it was great because now there's a little bit of human element, there's a little context to it. And as a photographer, not to get too deep into the technical side of photography, but storytelling is a big deal. And when you have other elements that bring a person through the journey or make them feel like they could be there themselves enjoying it, it's really important. And this photograph actually gets more response than most of mine in the mountains just because it has that human element in it. And yeah, it would be a beautiful photograph without the canoe, but I think the canoe actually makes it.
I like it. Yeah.
So this is a really good one for wildlife photography in general. So what I want to do is make people, again, relate to the situation, relate to the animal. And there's very few things that do that better than a baby and parent connection, because we all have had parents, and a lot of you have children. I don't have kids. I have a dog. Her name's Josie. She's sweet. But seeing this touch and this comfort of the baby in relationship to its mother, those are the ones that make people stop at my photography booths and say, oh, yeah. And it just, I would say it makes them more relatable than just a shot of an elephant, like the big one with the tusks, right? This is a mother, clearly. And the baby is dependent on her.
Something about too, just their eyes, that's a beautiful photograph.
This is actually one of my. This is when I another one as well. So this is one of my favorite wildlife encounters I've had. I would say this is probably number one on my list. I had been trekking through the jungles of Rwanda, near the Congo border, and it was sloppy and muddy as jungles are, and there were all sorts of insects and snakes and the things that people try, make their skin crawl. But it was worth it. Because when I got there was this troop of chimpanzees that were hanging out, and this guy, I call this the inspection, because he's just staring me up and down. And chimpanzees and primates in general, intelligent animals, they look at you way different than your dog or cat, or your dog and cat will look at you like, I love you, you're great. These guys look at you like, what is your intention? Because there's real intellectual thought going through their head. And he just sat there and he flipped his lips a couple times, and then the troop wandered off. And it was the first time I'd been around chimpanzees in general. So I was really trying to dial in on not walking away with a bunch of blurry photos. And I was trying to compose these scenes because a black animal in a dark jungle is very challenging to photograph. Not as hard as orca or southern residents, but pretty challenging. And yeah, it was an absolute joy. I'll finish the story when we get to the portrait of the chimpanzee who gets me teary-eyed every time I see her face and talk about her. So here's tracking the troops. And this gives you a little bit of perspective of some of the lenses I'm using to get those up-close portraits, because ethical wildlife photography and videography is something I am adamant about. If you're impacting or changing their behavior in any way, you're not doing your job correctly. And so having a longer lens in these situations, it allows me to get these really beautiful portraits or environmental portraits of in their space without disturbing them. Now, nature, as you'll see eventually when you get to the portrait, they don't have to listen to these rules. And we have to do our best to just keep calm and stay down. But it's neat to see me out in action. This is Antarctica. Just doing my thing. So this is in Bolivia, in the high mountains, probably the highest elevation I've ever been in my life, outside of a town called Potosi, and that's actually the highest town in the world, or village. And these kids were just going off to school in the morning. They were being cute kids, throwing rocks and teasing each other. And I am a complete stranger from Chicago in their land, and they were curious about what I was doing. And I was just photographing them and their town. And I'm a big kid. I love engaging with kids, sticking my tongue out at them, or handing out candy, but also showing them what I'm doing and letting them play with the tool. And it was a blast. It's a great way to interact with the people you're around. Here's the crew. I just wanted to put this. This is part of the crew of the people who are doing the Southern Resident film that we're working on, and some of the kindest, gentlest souls that I know. And they're so talented. And Howard, you can agree, and the people who have met Joseph and the crew, they really are big-hearted people that are doing things the right way.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Totally.
Down in Antarctica, here's an example. I have a really big lens. I think it's like a 400 millimeter, way too much power. And this little penguins are so curious because they don't see us as a threat at all. We're not a predator to them. And so they'll just walk up to you and kind of check you out, and sometimes dip at your shoes or whatever. And it's just, I was kind of giving this guy a look like, what are we going to do, buddy? Are you going to keep coming at me? Do I got to move? I adore penguins. If you ever get the opportunity to go to Antarctica, please do. And you'll quickly fall in love with penguins too. Yeah, this is the one situation I got myself in that I thought that was going to be my last day. So I've been tracking moose. I was getting very familiar with the moose of the Grand Teton National Park. I was using all of the skills that I know as a wildlife photographer to be safe, yelling, "Hey, bear," to not have any bears come around me, and making my presence known to the animals so that I'm not surprising them. Well, this big, majestic male was with his brother and his dad. And they knew where I was. They kept coming close. I had a 600 millimeter f4 big camera, so I was shooting them at a distance. And all of a sudden, this guy began to charge at me full speed, absolutely full speed. And I'm yelling, "Hey, yeah," making sure that he knows that I'm there. And he's full sprint. The only thing I could think to do was put my camera on the other side of a tree that I was standing by and hug that tree to protect my vital organs and just lock into that tree. Well, he ran right past me at full speed, and I turned around and there was a juvenile that was approaching. He wasn't interested in me at all. I just didn't see or hear the juvenile. So I had found myself between a rutting male big moose and an intruder that was coming up behind me. And it was just, I wasn't in harm's way, really. I was actually pretty safe. But at that time, I thought this guy's he's going to take me down. Like, this is going to be it. Thankfully, it was something else. But that's one of those situations where you really got to be on your game. You got to think quickly, like, how am I going to protect myself? And thankfully that day, he was just trying to run off a potential new rival.
Wow.
Yeah, that's Mount Wilson. That's the famous mountain in Telluride that I think it's on the side of the Coors Light can or something. It's a pretty famous mountain. Beautiful. I was out there for a few weeks waiting for the colors to change, and I was able to stick it out long enough where we had a good snowstorm come in and dust the top of the mountains. And also the valley was just on fire. And I'm terrible at Photoshop, so everything you see is actually pretty close to what it looked like in real life. And so as a wildlife photographer and fine artist, so what I want to do is not only show the animals, but show the regions they're in and just how beautiful it is and why we need to protect our public lands, particularly when the administrations change. I won't get too political. Our public lands come up for sale and they're under threat. And I want to show people that this should never change. There should never be a skyrise, stuck in the middle of that. We should all be able to enjoy that for eternity because it's that beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, this is one of those photos. At the end of the day, I wrote a really beautiful story about this, just bringing people along. That when you just think you've been out all day and you can't take one more photograph, and you're just physically and mentally exhausted, and then the sun starts to set and a scene unfolds in front of you, and you just gotta like pick yourself up and do it. And I saw this family coming across the edge of the horizon, the hill that we were on, and using another good 600 millimeter compressed the scene and wanted to silhouette them. So I focused my camera on their bodies, and that'll black them out and just give a really beautiful silhouette. And again, there's a family dynamic unfolding right in front of you, and I like to share that instead of just having one elephant.
That's beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah, this guy almost won me the Photographer of the Year award. This is a cool shot. So I was in the Kinabalu River in Malaysian Borneo, and I wasn't supposed to see elephants that day. But Kelly and I were in a canoe with the guy, and I saw this big chute that was sticking through the grasses that were lining the river, and I thought to myself, all right, there's got to be corridors where elephants are coming through. And I saw this look like a boulder sitting way by the back in the forest there, the out of focus part of the shot. And I told the guy, I said, let's just put our motor on the electric motor, trolling motor, and just sit here for a second. And he said, okay, let's go down a small little channel. But when we did, the elephant was right there. Probably 20 feet from us, that close. We snuck up on him. So we quietly backed out to the main channel where this is taken. And we just stayed really quiet and still. And sure enough, out it came. And it sat there for about 20 minutes just eating. And then it was bathing in the river. And then it began to swim across the river. And it was absolutely mind-blowing to see an elephant swim for the first time. It just brought tears to my eyes, and it was just really a fun shot, but pretty rare to see them, because in the Serengeti, you could see an elephant miles away. In the jungle, a big elephant like this can disappear in just 6 feet of grass. And then it was gone, just like that. And really special moment to sit there and spend time with the Malaysian Borneo elephant, critically endangered. Their environment is disappearing quick. Hey, you guys should. This is Friday Harbor. I was getting off the ferry, as you know the ferry systems well, and the light was getting good. The light was getting good. We had some rain. This is sunrise, and I just sprinted off the ferry down to the docks to try to get a little bit of the scene and the rainbow, and it's just a pretty shot. Not much. It's a beautiful place on earth you guys have, and thought this was a nice tribute to it.
Wow.
So often I get asked, what are the two places that your favorite to go and do photography? And one of them I say is East Africa, just because its nature was intended to be. It's raw. It's it's dynamic. The second is Antarctica. Nothing prepares you for the scale of it. I truly think it's the most emotionally beautiful place on earth. Many times I'd be sitting behind the camera and I'd just cry. I would just be overcome with emotion of the beauty of it, the untouched landscape. Very little human presence at all down there. And when I talk about whales, we would see pods of 50 humpback whales at a time go by.
Wow.
Massive pods, killer whales. There's wildlife everywhere, and people say you go down to Antarctica to see the wildlife, but you come back to the ice because the ice is just spectacular.
Love that.
So this little fella, I wasn't supposed to see emperor penguins on this trip because where we were, there were just none in the region, and it had shown up on a newly rolled iceberg. So underneath icebergs, you have ocean current creating dimples. And that's what you're seeing on this photograph is all those little like golf ball style dimples are ocean current sitting underneath an iceberg. But when it rolls and it gets exposed, this is the new ice before it melts and falls apart. And the canvas was absolutely perfect for this emperor penguin to be walking back and forth on. He's on a shelf, a little shelf, and he just spent maybe 15 minutes doing that before he ducked into the ocean and was gone.
That's gorgeous.
Yeah, there's that human relatable connection, right? That's mom. That's it's safety, it's security, it's I need you, I love you, and this things like this begin to get me emotional because they are losing. Like again, they're losing their land and their forest is disappearing at a rate that is just unimaginable. There's more deforestation happening in Southeast Asia than anywhere in the world. If you look at it across all the land that's happening, because it's spread out, you don't see it as you know, there's not as many red flags as like something like the Amazon per se. But this is probably the second, if not the most intelligent animal on the planet outside of maybe the southern residents and the whales. I'm not sure who would win in a chess match, but it doesn't matter. They are brilliant, they are kind, and they deserve a place on this planet too. Same thing. Showing that connection, that's love, that's friendship.
Beautiful.
That's
Nice.
it's this guy off exploring. Well, it's down in Patagonia. Behind me is Mount Fitzroy. 2020 dragged my wife up there at sunrise, so we had to leave at, let's see, it would have been 11 p.m. to start the hike. Right, it's the middle of the night, and got up there for a spectacular sunrise and hiking all back to the Patagonian forest and winds is it's a wild experience.
Wow.
The Great Migration is still one of the most spectacular things that you can witness as an event on the planet when it comes to mass movement of animals. And it's the cycle that happens across East Africa. And they make these crossings truly sprinting for their lives because waiting in the waters are Nile crocodiles, and it is powerful. It's just chaos. It's pure chaos, but it's it's pretty special. It's a wonderful experience. Highly recommend going to see that too. Ah, there she is. If I get teary-eyed, this is how much I care. All right, so while I was with that chimpanzee group earlier, they disappeared quickly, so they can move so fast through the canopy as us. I like to call us pathetic humans because we like to think we're advanced and be able to navigate things quickly. You realize how vulnerable and not coordinated you are when you're trying to keep up with them in the jungle, slopping through the mud and the vines and fire ants and all that stuff. Anyway, they took off, and I wasn't sure if I was going to see them again. And we caught up with them a little bit later, and I was standing with the ranger who I was with, and he said, "Hey, there's one up there. Let's go ahead and photograph it." And so I had that bigger lens attached, and I was photographing them, and it wasn't anything spectacular. It wasn't going to be National Geographic or a magazine cover, but it was photographs. And then he said, "Hey, don't move." I was like, "Oh, okay. Like, what's going on?" He said, "You have one that just came out of the darkness of the trees to your right. Like, she's very close to you. Don't panic. She's cool, but just lower yourself down to her level so she doesn't feel threatened." And I said, "Okay, good." I got down, and she's less than 5 feet from me. We could reach out and touch each other with our hands, and she just looked at and gazed into my soul, and her lips were kind of trying to communicate with me. And the ranger said, "It's all good. She likes you. You're not a threat. Who knows? She's just trying to say hi or whatever." And I just sat there for a few minutes, just having this nonverbal conversation with this primate. And her region is being threatened by tea plantations and it's such a sad development in a lot of our planet's ecosystems, where human encroachment is dividing their natural environment. And it's in a national park, and it's still happening. And so I sat there and verbally said to her, I said, I promise I will do everything I can to come back and save your home. And I was able to switch my lens to a 50 millimeter, so I was backed up enough, and she allowed me to take some portraits of her. And I intend to hold my end of the bargain.
Derek, thank you. We have more to look at, a lot more. But thank you for sharing that moment with us, because you can, I can't imagine, because I can see how she's clearly communicating with you, and that's such a special spiritual moment. And thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, for sure. Our beautiful national parks. We have some of the best this is Zion National Park in the morning. And I go to some of these popular places because I want to show people just like how great our own national park systems are. They need funding, right? They're some of the most visited places in America. And I donate at least 10% of all my sales in fine art to organizations that are fighting like crazy to protect these places. And so I go to some popular places just because they sell well, right? It's fine art. Like if you've gone on a vacation to a place like this, you've connected with it, you relate to it. And maybe you want to hang it on your office wall in Manhattan or wherever people buy my work. And so it's not always these far off places, these obscure places, because maybe somebody doesn't want a 60-inch print of a chimpanzee portrait on their living room wall, but they might want a national park, which then I can donate back to and help keep it and protect it.
Oh, I'm not sure why it's not letting me go to the next here.
Sorry.
We're gonna have to keep talking. I don't know why my screen is frozen.
Do you have to pull it back out again?
No, it's not letting me do that. So we could just talk a little bit about maybe what we're gonna see, Derek, coming up with your time on the Nevis project. Well, I can try to mess with this.
Yeah, no problem. So again, another animal that gets me emotional is the southern residents. I didn't know about them. There's Cannon Beach, but again, I live in Chicago. I've been all over the planet. There's a lot of these things that I just don't know about. There's a lot of things that a lot of us don't know about. And that's kind of my job, is to help facilitate the transfer of information to people and get them to understand what's happening. That's right on. I love that photo. That's actually on San Juan Island. I'm keeping it secret, but if any of you want to know where it is, you've driven past it 1,000 times, I'm sure. And some of you probably know this tree. But I begged my director of photography and Joseph to stop as we were heading out to one of the points to try to, I think it was one of the bigs that were coming by, but we still wanted to get footage. And I was like, guys, please, there's this fire red tree. Like, it is such a beautiful fine art piece. Like, just give me 30 seconds to go out there and photograph this, and I'll get right back in. I promise you, we're still like a half hour out from the whales to even potentially be there. That's if they're there, because they change their minds all the time, which direction they want to go. I love this piece. I call it Be Different. Just stand out from the crowd. Go ahead.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, there's the one with the baby.
Yeah. So that's when she came out. She was bathing them, and it's just such a lovely moment. I will never forget that morning.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
She felt comfortable enough to bring him out too, which is special when they do that. National parks, Acadia National Park in Maine. This was all during that time in 2020 during the pandemic when the world was basically shut down. I was out practicing and really working on my craft as a photographer. Spent a number of mornings freezing in Bryce Canyon in the winter before the snows came. Just thankful that the warm sun rays would hit that horizon and light you up. There's the crew again. So that's most of our crew. Allie's not in this one, but you could see how much we like being together, and we could see. They were all strangers to me just a few years ago. I met Joseph through a mutual friend, and he pulled together this crew, and yeah, love them. Good people.
Oh, we know that.
To get to some of the so this is Tracy and Skylar, and you all know Eba. And this is kind of the behind the scenes of filming what a documentary looks like, right? We have Joseph and Kalila manning the cameras, Joseph asking the questions, Deborah, Eva, kind enough to give us their time to explain their role in this whole project to help save the Southern residents. But this is what behind. I love this because
We all know that too.
yeah, it's like that's love, right? That's comfort. That's Dr. Weiss. And, so this is what it looks like when you're documentaries at this level are new to me. I'm a film shooter. I do stills work, and the amount of equipment that comes in and the amount of time that it takes to film all this. We have hours and hours of footage that'll end up being at most a 90-minute documentary, right? Like, it is fascinating to me how much goes into this behind the scenes work to pull off a full feature documentary that is worth watching. There's a lot of time, and we're bootstrapped in this film. We are putting our own money and resources into this. We haven't secured a lot of funding yet, so we're trying to. That's the name of the game. Unfortunately, with documentaries is putting your heart first.
Yeah.
And then letting the story unfold, because it has. It's really become something much bigger than what I first even started thinking about it.
It's our beautiful Rosie.
Yeah, she's a sweetie. Down in Antarctica doing my thing. And yeah, this is, I forget which pod this is, one of the T's, but they had just hunted a seal and were having a blast. They were celebrating like crazy. I had so much fun. So this is another series that'll get me emotional, because that's L90 and 128, right? So while we've been filming, the first time I was out there and the first time I met Howard, I was so desperate to see them. I just really, really wanted to see orca in general, but particularly the Southern residents. And they weren't in the area. They were doing their thing. Hey, there we go. And the first trip, I only saw one orca in 6 weeks of filming. Yeah, one. And the next time we had a lot more success. But the second time we were out there, we got word, I think it was probably Cindy Hansen, said, hey guys, L90's in the area. And we got word that there was a big gathering, and a lot of the other pods, I forget the details exactly right now, but we're in the area and she has a new baby. And it was like, you gotta be kidding. That's so exciting. And this was my first time seeing a Southern resident. Look at it makes me so frustratingly mad that here I am looking at a day-old baby, and she has to deal with that as her nursery. It made my heart sink. Like, would we raise our own children next to the sound of a jet engine at day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? No, absolutely not. And they have, it's so much more powerful to them underwater. It it made me sick to see that the first time I saw her at a distance was next to a tanker. And she kept going up the channel towards the north end, and she disappeared for some cute. I really do love it out there. I may become a resident myself. But then we got the call that she was doing the West Side Shuffle, right? Heading up and down by the lighthouse. And our whole team sprinted ahead just south of the lighthouse and positioned ourselves to get her and the baby approaching. And again, my adrenaline was going like crazy. I was really excited for them coming. I'm going through all the settings in my mind to get a clear photograph because, like I said, before we started rolling this, orca and southern residents are some of the hardest animals to photograph because when they come up, it's a short thing and your camera has to lock onto it. The autofocus has to hit that animal. And you got to get a clear shot. And when they were approaching, I was just so excited to get them. Boom, boom, boom. They went by. We spent maybe 10 to 15 minutes with them before they headed back out to sea. And wasn't too long after that was our last day shooting as a group. We were all heading back to catch planes the next day or going back to Seattle. And the southern residents said, you know what? This is important. We're going to show up. And they did. Got that footage. And we got those photographs so we could tell their story. But then I got the news a couple weeks later that L128 didn't make it. And I remember Joseph saying, hey, man, you probably know, but that baby, there's Joseph scouting in the morning. That baby didn't make it. And I just started crying. I'm attached to these animals. I'm attached to wildlife. And it was a gut punch because I know how important every birth of these animals is to the planet and to their community. And to know that poor little beautiful thing that I was so excited to see is no longer with us. And it's directly because of as a species, our incompetence, right? Our inability to protect them. And you guys and myself and everyone out there that's fighting hard for them are trying to raise that. So this is a pretty haunting photograph. That's Seattle. And that's air pollution getting trapped. And with the latest revelations with the EPA going back against some of the air policy science, I think this could be something that they should definitely take a deeper look at because that's clearly impacting our health. This is a sequence. I was very fortunate to be out on the boat. These are all one of the transient pods, the group that was hunting. But after they were done hunting and they got that meal, they were socializing like crazy, and we had our engines just shut off, letting them do their thing, and they were curious as could be about us, spy hopping and wrestling and playing and just kind of like, yeah. Amazing. Look at that. Look at that, just that bond, right? That is so similar in affection that the elephant trunk, right? That's like, I want to be close to you. I love you. I want to play with you. Whatever you are, you're my family. You're dad. And one jumped up and said hello. That was one of those shots as a career. Like, I had been so frustrated to photograph these animals. I had been trying so hard to capture them because as somebody who has to spend 90% of the time on land because I don't have a boat and I don't get the permits. And as a photographer, like making a documentary, I am not the first pick, right? It has to be Joseph and Kalila who are manning the cameras and tell the story to go out on some of these research vessels and things. And I 100% get that. When I had this opportunity and to be there and have everything come together, when I looked at the back of the camera and I was like, I got a really good breach. It was amazing, razor sharp, like everything was clear. It's like, yes, that was, I would say in my top 5 favorite wildlife photographs of all time of mine in my career, because I know how difficult that is. Like, not only to execute it and have the camera do everything you want it to, but like just being pointed in the right place at the right time, because the breach can happen like over there and you miss it. You have to be geared up and pointed at it. Again, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. But at this phase of my career, I make less mistakes behind the camera, and I can walk away with some really nice shots like that.
Man, I didn't want to end the slideshow. I do want to be respectful of your time, Derek, but we're good to keep talking if you're good to take 4 minutes. But you guys can see why I couldn't narrow down any of those photos to choose what to show, because they tell such a story. And just, man. I'll talk a little bit about your website, if that's okay, because I have to end this, I think. I don't know why I'm having such trouble sharing things today. Your website, and I kind of mentioned this earlier for those, if you weren't watching yet, trying to get to it. I don't know why this is not sharing. I'll get to your website, but so here's the website. It's just a little screenshot there of the website, but see how there's an entire page here regarding the Southern residents, and you read Derek's story about it, and so you're sharing not just photos, not just advocacy, you're sharing your heart and how it's left with you, and there's education on here. I mean, it's just a beautiful website, guys, and I know we don't have time to go through all of it, but I really, really want to encourage people to check this website out. You can spend hours here, and just looking at the gallery, and you could do it by landscapes, wildlife, people, black and white. I mean, it's just some of these on here. Look at that. I mean, amazing. So I encourage you, for those who look for fine art or know people who do, definitely want to go to this website. So sorry, Derek, I just wanted to kind of point that out.
Thank you. Thank you for highlighting that. I mean, this is my mothership. This is where I conduct all my business. That's where I send people to get educated on what I'm working on. But it's on there as a business because I am self-funded. I do all my projects on my own. The important thing, I've teamed up with a number of environmental organizations all over the globe. So my work in Antarctica, I help support Sea Shepherd. My work in the landscapes in the United States, I help support the Conservation Alliance. East Africa, I work with Dr. Gabby Wild and her foundation. She's a wildlife veterinarian for National Geographic, and she's doing some of the hardest work on the planet of educating people in these communities that are trying to better their lives. But by doing so, they're pushing in on these environments that are, and who are suffering as the animals. And so she does a great job of educating people on why their behaviors as people has to coexist with the wildlife. And so I've teamed up with all these organizations, and I donate at least 10%, if not more, to certain organizations. So every single one of my photographs has a financial donation to protect the planet. And because I can't keep doing what I'm doing, and we don't get the opportunity to go to these beautiful faraway places, or sometimes just right at home, if organizations aren't doing the hard work, right? That aren't doing the thankless work sometime. And I want to support them. And when I was designing my business, the world doesn't need another environmental organization. The ones that are out there need funding, right? And there's so many good ones. There's so many underfunded ones. And if they could just get a little bit more help, then they could really make an impact, and we could not be the species that just endlessly destroys this planet, but the one that gives back. So.
And it's been nice. I think Howard and I were talking a while back, like maybe we could just have a whole episode where we're just showing, beautiful pictures, and just, and here you are. And so like, I could not have put together a better slideshow, and it's all your work. Brandy is on the screen now, and I just want, Brandy, thank you so much for joining and for putting me in touch with Derek.
Yes, thank you, Derek, so much. I was so excited to get you on the show because your passion is, it's just like you said, it's something that we all feel, we all collectively feel, and when you have a love for the Southern residents, it kind of goes without even speaking, what that entails and how important it is for us to, save them because they're up against a lot.
Yeah, and I know we're not the first documentary on this topic, and we won't be the last, but I think the more of us that come out there and tell the story, and our group in particular, we're really, and I think a lot of the other ones are doing a good job of this as well, but we're letting our indigenous partners tell their story. We're not creating a narrative and saying this is what's happening. No. We're taking the time to become educated as people who are just a vehicle for their story, right? And also for the scientists. Like, I know nothing about this stuff, so how can I come in and make a movie about something and then go push some narrative? Like, that's not how this should be done. It should be letting the people who are impacted by it, who have lived it, tell their story, and then we are giving all of our partners in the indigenous community the final say on edit. Like, if they don't like it, it's not going to make it. Like, it is their choice, not ours. And we are trying to, and we are going to be as ethical as possible on that. And they get the final say.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Wow.
I appreciate your ethics and your mission, and you're showing us these beautiful, beautiful photos, and highlighting the beauty and the precarious situation of the Southern residents right now. The stories need to be told. You're telling them beautifully, and I really appreciate that. So thanks for coming today and showing us all these beautiful photos.
It's my pleasure.
They really do impact. I mean, they hit me in the heart.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Deb Cruz. I guess we're kind of wrapping up because and here's what I want to. Some people are saying, what can we do? What can we do? Please share his website because there's so much information on there. So how can we support you in helping in the work that you're doing? So I would, unless you have a different avenue, Derek, that you would like us to take. Like, I just think sharing.
I'm pretty active on social media. It's Derek Nielsen Photography on Facebook and Instagram. I kind of limit it to that. My website is, again, it's where I put the most thought and heart into it because that's mine. I get to control that, whereas the social media platforms, the algorithm gets to control everything. And I don't want to spend my whole life behind a computer making the algorithms happy for a couple extra likes. But I know that I can put out really valuable content on my website, and I'd say that's it. And just keep doing what you're doing. Spread the word. Make community. Right? That's what we need right now. It's community of people who are not going to let this planet go down the path that it's heading. We're going to fight like crazy, and we're going to be a voice for the L128s, right? That didn't get a chance. That's what gets me emotional, and that's what gets me to keep doing this stuff because I just cannot turn my back on these things.
Absolutely.
And Derek, do you guys have a release date at all? Are you in?
No, they were back out there just recently doing some extra filming. I think they're getting closer, wrapping up the footage of it. It's been a little challenging getting some of the interviews just because people have lives and schedules, and we want to be very respectful of their time. We don't want to be an inconvenience on anyone. And so I think we're going to be still in the edit, I would say, in this next year, probably releasing it the year after. Now, Joseph's going to kill me for saying any dates, but I don't know. I don't have my hands in that. They brought me in as a creative help, producer of the thing, an expert in wildlife, and somebody that can have, they're very introverted, a lot of them. I'm an extrovert, and so they kind of brought me in to like be the softener between some of the people. And so like, the one that will have a conversation at the dinner party, so we're not just kind of staring at each other.
Maybe we can get Joseph on here next.
Yeah, he's a sweetheart.
He's a really cool guy. And he was, and I'm sure impacted by, I know we talked about this offline, but I did meet him. I was sitting in Giles' office a couple of days before Gathering the Hearts, and I got to meet him and invited him to come. And so I know he was there, and you could just, see the look on his face too. Just being able to participate in a ceremony like that with Rosie, who you met, who there's a picture of there. And maybe we can get him to come on here as soon as, maybe as we get closer or there's more progress towards the film. But yeah, what a cool team you got to work with. I only met him, but very cool team.
Yeah, they're all as equally big-hearted and fun to be around. So it's I'm not working when I'm out there. I feel like I'm just hanging out with some of my best friends who I just met, and we bonded pretty quickly. And then I get to meet great people like yourselves and learn about what's happening. Many people that I was telling about, they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm doing this film, The Southern Residents," and I tell them the story, and they're like, "I had no idea." And then I've been sharing the proof of concept, and then a lot of times they're like, "Wow, that's a big problem." And we're gonna get on a megaphone and just tell everyone that'll listen.
Yeah. And Rosie's watching now. Rosie, we just showed a cool picture with you in there. We love our Rosie. Rosie's watching now on screen. We'll get Rosie on here too, because you want to talk about being inspired and the knowledge,
Yeah, the what I learned in the last 2.5, maybe 3 years of working with the tribes of that region was that what I thought I knew about wildlife and nature wasn't enough. Like their connection to the planet opened my eyes and my own connection to the planet, how I see things, like truly treating nature as an equal and not as a natural resource, right? Like something that we get to go and consume. It's something that it just totally, my time at dinners and lunches and behind the scenes talking with our tribal partners opened my eyes and deepened my own relationship to the planet and how much more I respect the planet because of my time with them. And I cherish those moments deeply.
Likewise. Yeah.
Deb Cruz, did you get to say goodbye? Yep. No, you're good. Deb Cruz doesn't say much, but she's the powerhouse behind it. And if she doesn't speak at a dinner party, her laugh will get your attention. That's sure. Even though she's muted, her laugh is just phenomenal. It's just great. Peggy was on here last week, and we were talking about some actions that we really need to focus on. And so she and her partners were working on getting their website up. So Peggy, can I turn it over to you to tell us about what action you got up?
Sure. Thanks, Annette. And, thank you so much, Derek, for your important work. It's just, I really appreciate all of your work. And, they say that we protect what we love. And you're sharing these images that will hopefully even inspire further the love and the need for protection. And some of the areas of the Southwest that you photographed, as you probably heard about a few weeks ago, there was this big threat of a sell-off of millions of acres of public land. So these things, all of your work is, people go, well, what's public land? It's like places like Bryce and Zion and So I actually go to the Southwest in the spring and the autumn, and really special. And that portrait of the female chimpanzee, have you shared that with Dr. Jane Goodall yet?
No, I haven't had the pleasure to meet Dr. Goodall yet. I saw her speak here in Chicago at a lecture, but I will get in touch with her. Hopefully.
I think that when she sees
that
photo, she'll
I think she's one of all of our superheroes, right? Like I think.
Yeah.
She's on Mount Rushmore of conservation for sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for working on speaking up for the Southern residents, and I too. When they announced the story of L-128, it was very difficult. So anyways, onward to Marine Mammal Protection Act and Endangered Species Act, which are both under serious threat of being gutted. And Mads and I have been working on this webpage. So if you go to the Take Action on here, right there, top left, is defend the Marine Mammal Protection Act and the Endangered Species Act, which are two different of the most powerful environmental laws in this country to protect endangered species, the ESA, and then the MMPA for marine mammals. And I just cannot reiterate how important it is for everybody to not ride this one out, because this will affect. Okay, so I was doing some research for our site. I like this one part here. Let me just zoom in. Let me try to read this here. So let's see here. Okay. Equally as important is the ESA, the Endangered Species Act. The ESA protects 743 endangered animals, from snails to blue whales. So I cannot reiterate, like, literally the ESA listings. I had a count here. Okay, here we go. So the Endangered Species Act has lists of officially endangered or threatened species. There are 743 animals listed in that Endangered Species Act, and 938 plants. So we know how important, the plants are as part of the ecosystem and the roles that they play as well with the wildlife. So this is absolutely urgent. Alarm bells, everybody please get on board. And I would like to, I know we're running out of time, so I'm just gonna keep this real brief. Last week I announced that we're working on this. The page is now live, and there's information and talking points. We've presented numerous talking points to choose from, mix or match whatever you want to do, and send and ideally create an art letter to send one to your congressperson, and then also to your senator, and just write your message of why the Endangered Species Act and the Marine Mammal Protection Act must be defended, preserved as they are, because without either of those two laws, it's kind of like the end. We really, really need to have these. So you'll find all these reasons here why we want everybody to empower yourselves. It doesn't matter. Don't judge yourself on what your artwork looks like. Just have fun. Put your heart into creating art. And photographers, calling all photographers, wildlife photographers like Derek, of course, share your photos of, the deepest expression that you have for any of the endangered species that are listed. I don't know if we maybe should provide the link to the list, but you can find all sorts of out of the 743 species in the United States that are endangered, of animals in themselves, and then of the 938 endangered plants. And then, of course, we all love our southern resident orcas and the Chinook salmon that they depend upon. So I just wanted to share real quick here. This is my this was the stationery that I created to send my letter when we had our art letters, love letters for southern resident orcas that we sent to, that were delivered by hand by our lovely Deborah Toro Osh to Governor Ferguson of Washington State, urging him to do everything in his power to have these 4 lower Snake River dams breached. So I created this sort of stationary thing.
Beautiful.
And I hand wrote all around in the blank spaces. And so here's our Chinook salmon, also listed endangered. And we have our southern residents. And that's, of course, L25 here, Ocean Sun, with her gorgeous saddle patch. And then, of course, the reason for our hope and what we are doing for the southern residents. So everybody, let's get out our art art materials. Let's go. Come on, start with your art materials now. Ideally, have these mailed by the end of this month, before September, when Congress starts to really start resuming and talking about these things. Both of these are still in early phases of consideration for amendments and stuff before they go to vote. So this is the opportune time to reach out to your senator and your congressperson and say, hey, I love the southern resident orcas. I know that they depend on the endangered Chinook salmon. I need you to please protect both the Marine Mammal Protection Act for the southern residents and then the Endangered Species Act for the Chinook salmon. Let's go. So yeah, and that's a fin whale, which is also listed endangered in the list of marine mammals protected in the United States. So
Peggy is so awesome, guys. Not only is there like a site with some suggestions, there's a link. I mean, it's she's giving you the facts. So there's talking points, which, you know, if you don't know them, there they are. There's the talking points, what you can do, where you can send it, tips on, you know, to do your work, and then also straight links to find your representative, so that you, if you don't know, like, there's no excuses on when you go to this website. If you go to this website, it's all you have to do, go to cetaceans.org. Everything is right there at your fingertips. There's no reason why you cannot and should not have the information, because Peggy just puts it all out there for you in very easy to follow links and everything. So thank you, Peggy.
Thank you. And that's also thanks to Madison O'Connell, who's the technical side of our organization. And you know, I just say, okay, how about this? And how about this? And then she makes it all happen. So
thanks, Madison. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, guys, it's been a wonderful get together today. And Derek, I know I'm going to go back and just hang out and check out your website some more, because so many stories. I mean, you guys, we showed a lot today, but just go to the website. Trust me, you definitely want to go to the website and share, and trying to figure out what's going to look best in my living room, because so many to choose from, and I definitely want to support you and what you're doing. And thank you for raising awareness, spreading education, showing some beauty, and helping assist with your funds as well, putting a portion to organizations that are out there doing the work. So all around, just phenomenal show today. And Derek, you're awesome. Thank you for coming on today. Thank you, Randy, for finding Derek to come on today. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. And something that stuck in my mind was I was having a conversation with Jay Julius, one of the members of the community out there, right? And one of our first lunch meetings we had with him, and he said he looked Kalila Robinson, Joseph Pellegrini, and myself in the eye, and he said, "Just tell me you're not going to make another documentary about saving the whales." I said, "Okay, I tell me then." He goes, "The whales will be fine if we let them. You need to look in the mirror and save yourself." And I was like, damn. That sort of knowledge drop on me. And he's so right. He's like, the whales will be fine if we let them do what the whales have done forever. It's us that need to take a deep look in the mirror. And this crew knows it, but it's the people that around that just don't know. They need to take a look in the mirror, because our decisions are directly impacting the planet and its longevity and the species on it. So,
Wow.
Good point. Wise words.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you guys so much. Derek, come back, okay? Whenever you want to.
Yeah, I promise I will be back. I love the Pacific Northwest. I truly do think that I will become a resident myself at some point in the near future. It sticks with me. There's certain places I've traveled to that I would easily call home, and your guys' region is one of them. And I will continue to do all that I can to help you in your fight to doing what you're doing out there. So if you need me for anything, you know where to find me.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next week. Jennifer Godfrey will be on with us next week, so join us then. And thank you for being with us. We'll see you.
Thank you, guys.